the beautiful Shrine on Airline, Zephyr Field in Metairie, where the New Orleans Zephyrs hold court this time of the year as their season is well underway and they're off to a very good start. And a pleasant good evening. Ken Trahan at sportsNOLAtv coming at you one more time from Metairie at Zephyr Field. Hard to believe 20 years in to the New Orleans Zephyrs, and here they are at Zephyr Field, and another season is underway with good weather, a good team, and a good start. And we'll visit with Zephyrs General Manager Mike Schlein a little bit later here in the show. As we get started, it's always a pleasure to welcome our regulars. If you want to call this guy regular, then I'm not sure how you define the word. Brian Alley Walsh of sportsNOLA.com. Brian, good evening.
Kenny, good evening to you. It's always a pleasure to be here. Let's play two. The weather is good enough. Let's go ahead and play two today.
Sounds like Ernie Banks to me.
Just sounds
Do
great.
you know who that is?
Ernie Banks?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Torrance Small.
There we go.
The man can't tell a lie. Okay? His nose is not growing. Former Saints wide receiver Torrance Ernie Banks was a Hall of Fame player for the Chicago
Mr.
Cubs,
Cub.
who was made famous for his slogan, "Let's play two."
Yep.
Cubs played day games all the time. Weather was allegedly nice in Chicago, which our guest can speak to here in a moment and absolutely tell you that's not true. But at the same time, that's what Banks said way back in the day.
Well, I wasn't a Cubs fan. Sorry, I wasn't a Cubs fan. I was a Yankee fan and Cincinnati Reds fan growing up. So to you Cubbies, sorry.
Speaking of Chicago, you talk about a fish out of water. Former Archbishop Rummel Raider, two-time All-State player, and of course former All-SEC performer, first-team All-American at LSU, and now Chicago Bears starting safety as of the end of last season. As you see him returning, look at that speed, man. Is that 4.1 speed?
That's
Unbelievable.
not Greg Stelz.
That's
That is not Greg Stelz.
No, that was Kevin Stelz, man.
Tell him where you got the speed from. Tell him who taught you the speed. Tell him who taught you the speed.
If you rewind that clip, the guy that attacked me was actually an LSU Tiger, and Stephen Peterman. And I remember after the game, I said, man, he was the last guy there. I said, you couldn't let me run by. So it was an exciting time, and it's been a blast playing up in Chicago. You know, come from New Orleans, it's a whole different ballgame up there, and but it's been very exciting.
Let me get this straight. You let a slow offensive lineman tackle you in the open field.
He took a great angle. I caught on the goal line. You see, he just ran to about the 50-yard line, and he had me stand there. So.
Unbelievable.
You'll
Craig
never
Stelz.
live that down.
You have to jump. You have to jump. You have to jump.
Great to have one of our hometown heroes with us, and Craig Stelz. And of course, it's great to have you with us as well from Zephyr Field, where the Zephyrs are in the midst of a homestand taking on the Memphis Redbirds, the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll take a time out here. When we return in just a moment, we'll turn our attention to the NFL and the Saints and the bounty penalties, which have been upheld. More of that coming up on sportsNOLAtv in just a moment here on WHNO Channel 20. Bubba Watson, a great story, the defending champion of the Zurich Classic, hopefully here in 2 weeks to defend his title as the reigning Masters champion. What a performance, a very popular guy, fun to watch, and we're very happy for him, and we hope, and I stress hope, to see him in New Orleans at the Zurich Classic in 2 weeks. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv from beautiful Zephyr Field in Metairie, where the Zephyrs are back in action and playing the Memphis Redbirds over the next 4 days here at Zephyr Field. Well, today, big news concerning the New Orleans Saints, and to no surprise, the suspensions have been upheld. No change in the suspensions pertaining to Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis, Joe Vitt, and of course, Greg Williams. The NFL release saying this: the club and the individuals will be expected to cooperate in any further proceedings and to assist in the development and implementation of programs to instruct players and coaches at all levels on principles of player safety, fair play, and sportsmanship. If they embrace the opportunity and participate in a constructive way, Commissioner Goodell said he would consider mitigating the financial penalties on the individuals. In the case of the team, the commissioner would consider whether there are factors that would support modifying the forfeiture of the team's 2013 second-round draft choice. Sean Payton's suspension without pay for the 2012 NFL season will begin on April 16th. The suspensions without pay of Mickey Loomis for 8 games and Joe Vitt for 6 games will begin at the end of the preseason. So, Brian, no real surprise here. I think we all felt like these would be upheld. We talked about it last week, and that's the case.
Absolutely, and you know, it makes you wonder, Kenny, is that what did the appeal accomplish? An extra week? To me, it accomplished this, that we had an audio tape exposed to us over that time. Had it not been appealed, I wonder if we'd even know about that tape that was exposed by Sean Pompion, right? Of the director for 30-30. So no surprises, but this is it. It is what it is.
Yeah, before we discuss it further with Torrance and Craig, we have some clips to let you hear from that now famous audio tape, Sean Pamphilon putting it out there. And here are some of the comments made by Greg Williams that were caught on tape by Sean Pamphilon. Let's listen in.
Respect comes from fear. This is how you get respect in this league. We need to find out in the first 2 series of the game, the little wide receiver, number 10, about his concussion. Put a lick on him right now. He needs to decide. We need to decide. We need to decide whether Crabtree wants to be a fake prima donna or he wants to be a tough guy. We need to find that out. He becomes human. Take out that outside ACL. We need to decide on how many times we can beat Frank Gore's head. We need to decide how many times we can bull rush and we can put Vernon Davis's ankles over the pile. We need to decide, and when they are fearing us, they give us the ball.
Torrance, you heard these comments. You played the game. Craig, we'll get to Craig in a moment because he's playing the game right now. This is typical of what you hear in a defensive team meeting the night before a game, isn't it?
Yes, I don't see much with this. I really don't. I don't see much about all this bounty stuff. Me, I'm kind of tired of it. I think it's much enough. Guys go out with the intent to bring bodily pain to their opponent. Bottom line. Whether you get a concussion or you get an arm broke, whatever happens, that's part of the game. Now, do you see any guys when they hit somebody, they hurt them, they're trying to help them up? No. They're flexing and they're shaking hands to their fellow teammates. It is part of the game, people. And this, what the coach is saying, I don't see as much as nothing.
Craig, I know you won't divulge what goes on in the locker room, what goes on the night before a game, but just to talk about it from a current player's perspective, isn't this typical? I know you heard these comments and you've read it everywhere, you've heard it, you've seen it. Isn't that typical of what goes on?
You know, everybody who's played this game, you know, has been a part of a defensive pregame speech. And, you know, in the excitement of getting fired up, talking about being physical, that's part of the game. You know, like a lot of games are won in the trenches. You got to play physical. You know, there's no thing as a finesse run game. I mean, you see guys coming up, blowing guys off the ball, creating a new line of scrimmage, and that's part of the game. I just think, you know, as a player, I couldn't see somebody getting excited when somebody's talking about tearing somebody else's ACL. You know, that doesn't excite me. You know, what excites me is, hey, let's go big hits. You know, with the Chicago Bears, we preach about takeaways. You know, and one way of getting a takeaway is making a big hit on a running back, making a big hit on the quarterback, drawing the ball loose. And that's part of the game. But, you know, I just think I can't see guys getting excited about talking about tearing an ACL and that type of talk.
Brian, that's where Greg Williams lost me, was when he was specific about tearing an outside ACL. Even the concussion talk bothered me a bit, but not nearly as much because, hey, here's what happens, and Torrance and Craig, you'll back me up. Everybody knows about the other team's injured players and what their injuries are. And coaches always talk about, let's find out whether his shoulder's good enough to throw the ball.
Exactly.
Let's find out if his knee's good enough to make that cut.
Exactly.
Okay? So that doesn't bother me as much, but the ACL reference was over the top.
Yeah, Torrance and Kenny and I have had a very healthy conversation ever since Bountygate broke, Craig, and I'm going to continue to disagree with Torrance on this, is that, yeah, okay, there are two sides to this discussion, and we've just happened to see it now exposed, which I am thankful, okay, that we have had the words put to Bountygate from Greg Williams' mouth. So this is not, we're not fabricating anything like this. This is what the man said. And my point is that ACL, concussions, yeah, they point these things out. But to do this, okay, you bring attention to the whole bounty gate thing. And that's what my original point was, is that had they not had the Saints not appealed this, would we even know about this?
No,
Yeah,
no,
no,
we
we
would
probably
not.
wouldn't.
It's kind of like, let's make a deal. Be careful what's behind door number 3
Right,
or
exactly.
door number 2. Just take the medicine and move on.
Absolutely. And this is what I will agree with you on. It is time to move on. Please let the penalties come out on the players, Craig, right? Let the sanctions come out and let's move on.
Okay, but let's look at this. Now, we hearing all this stuff about what is a tent and all this trying to hurt players. Have we any evidence of any player being hurt directly by a Saints player illegally or intentionally? Illegally, anything outside of football? Do we have any evidence of that?
Torrance,
Hold on.
I'll say no, but I'll say this.
Okay,
by the
well,
grace
then,
of God,
listen,
we don't.
Okay,
by the grace of God, we don't.
Yeah.
This
right.
has been going on for years. It's been going on for years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Since '09.
Okay.
We haven't seen no evidence.
All right.
So it's nobody's going out there to play dirty, man. They're going out there to play football and play it the right way. Physical within the rules. If
Craig,
you get hurt,
you hear it all the time. You're part of the game now. And if you don't want to mention it, don't mention it. But have you seen money change hands? Have you seen guys offered incentives for big hits?
I never have.
You never have?
I
Okay.
think something about the way the Bears done it. Play physical and play fast. I don't think guys are out there. Anyone who's ever played the game, when you attempt to make a tackle or you attempt to run over, and a receiver run over a second guy or whatever it is, nobody's trying to hurt. You're trying to get him to the ground any means possible. There's no technique. Oh man, if I do this technique, I'll hurt his knee or some sort. You're trying to get him to the ground in any way you possibly can. And if you don't try to do that, he's going to run you over. He's going to inflict pain on you. So, that's kind of where all this is going on. I really don't quite understand it. And on the player side, you don't know kind of what's going on with them. So.
As a defensive back, is it worth the risk to even try to hit a guy? Because you get fined for everything, right? You hit him in a helmet, you get fined. You leave with a helmet, you get fined. You launch a guy, you get fined.
Did Peterman get anything for bringing you down?
That was a couple years ago.
Hey, Torrance.
But guys, it's football. Like I say, I don't see much of nothing. Look, me now couldn't hurt a fly. But I tell you what, if I had the opportunity to crack back on the guy, I was trying to take him out. Yes, I was trying to take him out, and you didn't have to give me a dime for it. So, Brian, if you ever come across that, I would take him out.
And if Small was playing right now, he's a wide receiver. Stelz is a DB. Stelz would be taking him out.
Absolutely.
Vice versa. That's part of the game.
Exactly. And I wouldn't feel bad about it at all because it's part of the game.
Only because you helped train him, that's all. We'll take a time out here. When we return in just a moment, Saints free agency, we'll talk about the Bears too with Craig Stelz, our special guest, as we continue with Sports NOLA TV from Zephyr Field in Metairie. Our Sports NOLA TV trivia question of the evening. The Zephyrs are beginning their 20th season in New Orleans. Where did the Zephyrs call home before moving to the Crescent City? Think about it. You know the answer? Give it to us a little bit later, and we'll give it to you at that time as well. Ken Trahan, Sports NOLA TV from Zephyr Field, where the Z's host the Memphis Redbirds here tonight and for the next 3 days after that as well to conclude an 8-game homestand to open the 2012 season. Off to a good start as well at 3-1. We'll talk to Mike Schlein coming up in a future segment of the show. Stay tuned. Right now we talk about Saints and free agency, linebackers, and of course we know Chamberlain came on board, who was with Spagnuolo in St. Louis, and most recently Lofton and Hawthorne joined the New Orleans Saints. And Brian, I know you have to be pretty pleased with what you've seen of the Saints bringing these guys in as we look at Lofton in action for the Falcons.
Absolutely. I mean, this was an area that you felt that they would have had to explore in free agency. My goodness, they've uncovered 3 of them. And let's hope that they all can play, Kenny. I mean, they've attempted to upgrade that position now for the last couple of years through the draft, through free agency. I like all 3 better than a Will Herring say that they got last year.
That's
I think all of them can play. Plus, it's in response, I think, to the possible loss of Jonathan Vilma.
And that was Hawthorne, of course, running well for Seattle. The guy moves well in space and clearly impressive. Now this is Lofton, and Torrance, I know you have to like these moves as well.
I love them. One, you have young guys. We have young guys that coming in with some experience, and now we're catching them at their prime, which I think is perfect for the Saints. and you get to keep these guys for a while, and they get to build a chemistry with one another.
New uniforms around the NFL as well, and that's thanks to Nike. And some people like them, some don't like them at all. The Saints have a little change in theirs. The Bears, how do you mess with the Bears uniform, Craig? Have you seen your uniform? Is it similar? What are you looking at? Packers can't stand theirs. They're not going to wear them.
Yeah, I'm sure the tradition of the Bears uniform, not much going to change on it. And but I like the change from from Reebok to Nike. I think that's going to be a tremendous change of having Nike at LSU. Being able to kind of grow up with it and with their new lines of uniforms and. Just the feel of playing in them, it was a great feeling. So I'm glad to kind of bring that to the next level.
I don't know, Torrance, maybe the glove is the nicest thing about the new uniform. I don't know.
I don't know. Everybody's going to have to wear the same uniform. The uniform doesn't matter when you get on the field, okay? Now, you have some tradition, the Green Bay, they want to, I guess, have their old uniforms or whatnot, but we do go back to the throwbacks, so they get to wear them every now and then.
Yeah.
So they'll be okay. They'll be all right.
Preseason schedule was announced for the New Orleans Saints, so let's take a look at the preseason schedule. Brian, you got the Hall of Fame game. Saints get an early start against the Arizona Cardinals, and it's at New England to take on the Patriots, then the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Houston Texans coming to town, and close with the Tennessee Titans at home. I don't know. It's preseason.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make any difference.
Yeah, I think it's ironical, isn't it, that the Saints are opening up the football season in a sense with the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
I guess you could say Hall of Shame game.
Wow. Yeah. Craig, as a player, an extra preseason game, you'd say no, absolutely no, and 1,000 times no, right?
Crazy, because we had it last year.
You
With
did,
the lockout,
yeah.
they canceled it. And it was the only game canceled, and couldn't be any happier.
Now, that would have been a good thing back in the days when I came out, because we had those 6 weeks of training camp and all, and to get a game early mean you start to rest a lot early. So in preseason, during training camp, you really want those games to get started early because it makes practice a lot easier. But now the way they have practice, hey, it's easy right now. You guys play forever.
Craig, the Chicago Bears started great last year, and then the injuries set in, and it was brutal. Jay Cutler, of course, getting hurt. Matt Forte going down. You guys really had a promising season that was kind of short-circuited by injuries.
Yeah, it's tough. That's part of the game. It's we've been talking about injuries, kind of all show, and that's part of the game. It's something you just got to continue to prepare for it any way you can. For guys to kind of step up and make plays when some of those things happen. I mean, you're not going to know when on the season it's going to happen, but you just got to kind of battle through it.
You got a familiar face for Cutler to work with at wide receiver, which should bolster your playmaking ability.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. I'm sure Jay, had a tremendous career in Denver with Brandon, and hope they can kind of bring those Pro Bowl years to Chicago, and that's going to be exciting.
Matt Forte, for the fans here, this guy's been everything and all that, right?
He showed up week in and week out, every year since we've been there. We went in together in 2008, and he continues to do whatever they ask of him and play well, and that's all you can ask for him. And so, hopefully, he keeps coming back and performing as he's been.
And as far as your own opportunity, you finally got one to start, and you proved that you can start in this league, and I know you're looking forward to the opportunity to do that on a regular basis.
I am. Crazy how fast time flies by. Going into my 5th year now, it's looking back, it's how fast it's moved. And to get an opportunity last year, to start a couple games into the year and make some plays and like I said, show that you can start out there and get the confidence to continue to play is, I can't wait to get back and get started on this new year.
Brian, I know that you're an unabashed fan of Craig. You believe he can play in this league and start, right?
Absolutely. I mean, congratulations first on getting a new 2-year deal. We talked about it off air and stuff like that. The Bears should contend in the NFC North, and I think a good Bears football team is only good for the NFL. It's almost like the Niners, in my opinion.
I agree.
You get those kind of teams always in the mix for the playoff time. It makes for a great NFL season.
And
so,
Torrance, I know you're proud of Craig as well.
Oh yes, I had the opportunity to work with him, getting him prep for his NFL debut, and he hadn't let us down. Great guy, always worked hard. It shows on the film. I don't know why the Bears thought they had to go out and get Mayweather last year when you got a guy. That's why you keep guys. You keep guys so when a guy go down, you can bring another guy in. Where you had one, I'm glad you did sign him back. That was a great deal, and I look forward to him coming up this season.
Well, the New Orleans Voodoo are 2-2 now. They've won 2 straight games. They finally won a game at home. My goodness, it took them nearly 4 years to do it, and they defeated Tampa Bay 66-47 at New Orleans Arena to move to 2-2, first win since 2008. Outscored the Storm 26-0 in the second quarter. Kurt Rocco has been brilliant. 5 more touchdowns, no picks, 25 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions on the year, and he's passed for 300 yards or more in all 4 games. So he's been outstanding in the Voodoo at San Antonio this week to take on the challenge. It is time now for our hot seat segment where we put Brian Alley Walsh on the hot seat about a hot topic. And our topic today is Saints players. Will there be any suspensions now that we know about everyone else's suspensions? And if so, who and how many? Brian, the floor is yours.
Kenny, thank you, buddy. You know, obviously there's going to be some heavy suspensions, in my opinion. And of course, the folks that we have heard throughout from day one of it, when Bountygate was first uncovered, certainly Jonathan Vilma. And then we're talking about players outside of the Saints program. Scott Fujita possibly up in Cleveland. Back to the Saints again, Will Smith. Charles Grant, who's no longer in the game. You know, they say 22 to 27 players. Don't look for that many players to receive suspensions. And if there are multiple suspensions, let's say 5 or 6, they're likely going to be staggered. You're not going to have a whole defensive unit depleted by a series of suspensions. So whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen early. And I think some of the moves that we've seen come in free agency have been a direct result of what this team understands may happen in the future. So, you know what? You do the crime, you pay the time. I'm sure like Torrance here.
No,
Let's get it over with. Let's get it over with here.
Yeah, you're like me on that part. Let's get it over with. But to suspend these players or to fine these players for what going on, hey, the coaches got enough. I think the team has had enough right now. From my point of view, again, I say, if you're going to find somebody, show me on film, show me some tape, show me some evidence where I went out and I intentionally tried to hurt somebody illegally, outside the game rules. Show me that. If you cannot show me that, I refuse to be suspended. And I think the NFLPA, they went and got some attorneys and some other things, and I'm pretty sure they're going to fight this and not allow this just to happen.
Craig, you are a player. You belong to the NFLPA. You pay dues, you are a member. I don't know how active you are, but as a player, would you have a problem with players being suspended?
I think you do. Terrence had a great point of seeing where these guys intentionally tried to go out and hurt somebody. You know, unless you tried to stomp on somebody after play or hit them out of bounds late, you know, within the boundaries, it's a physical game. And you look at it any means necessary to tackle these running backs, to tackle these receivers. You know, I don't think you're going out with the intent to rip a leg off. You're just trying to get them to the ground. So I think it's going to be tough to pinpoint where, you know, they had some breaking the rules of, you know, trying to injure another player.
Well, if money was exchanged and they have proof of it, that's what it's all about. And Ndamukong Suh, he tried to stomp on a player. He did stomp on a player. He got 1 game, right?
Yeah, we're talking, there's so many levels to this discussion, and we've just touched on one.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, Torrance or Craig, with what you guys are saying, but when you break the rules, you cannot, when you pass money for certain types of hits, it violates salary cap rules. I think this is where the suspension is going to come into play. Just like I think Sean Payton's suspension was heavily affected by his not being forthright, his trying to conspire and cover up. I don't think we would have seen a year. So there's different levels to this discussion.
And it is, but okay, you tell me about the hits. You keep saying the money and the hits. Is it the money and is it more about the money or is it about the hits?
Torrance, let me just ask you this.
No, I want to ask you that question because
it's
the thing
about
is
both. It's about both.
Well, no, forget
it
the
is.
hits.
It's about
My
both.
thing is, forget the hits. Forget the hits. You have receivers. We used to put money in the pile for drops, for touch. The guy who had the most catches, take the pile. So that's money exchange. Is that something so bad? No, it's not so bad because nobody is getting hurt. But as soon as you bring hits, somebody's getting hurt. Now it's a whole different ball game. If it's going to be the money, let's go find everybody then. You know, because money is exchanged on a lot of different levels.
Jonathan Vilma, if the report is true, again, these are alleged reports that investigated by the NFL. He threw down $10,000 to take out Brett Favre. Now, is that right, Torrance?
$10,000, whoever take them out, I don't see no problem. As long as you're in, look here.
I rest my case.
Listen to me.
No, it's the difference. It's just the difference in thought process.
Hear me out. Look. Long as they're playing by the rules and they take Brett Favre out, long as they're playing by the rules, they take Brett Favre out, I have no problem. Because guess what? Without that 10,000, if he can take Brett Favre out, he's going to take him out.
Did you talk about taking out Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre, your defense? Have you talked about it?
We haven't.
No, hey, look. You don't have to worry about talking about taking somebody out, but you are trying to take them out.
Okay,
That's the point. You didn't ask the right question. The right question, when you hit somebody, do you try to take them out? Is that, there you go, that's the question then. See,
time to render a judgment here. It's a real simple situation, guys, and it is this simple. You cannot upset the competitive balance in the NFL by having massive suspensions. That is not going to happen. I would not be surprised if there are many fines that come out of this. But as for suspensions, I'd be shocked if it's more than 2 or 3 guys, because you simply can't impact the competitive balance of the game. And the burden of proof would have to be there. As Brian alluded to, if they've got what they say they have on Vilma, that's pretty obvious. And I think the Saints have kind of told you what is to come based on who they've signed in free agency. And if you try to follow all the pieces that have been put into place, maybe you can connect the dots and figure out who else might be involved in this based upon who they've brought in. Bottom line, I do not expect many suspensions from this. I do expect more fines to be forthcoming as a result of this ugly situation that we all wish would just hurry up and go away. So like we can talk baseball, which we're going to do coming up, as well as the Hornets. Craig Steltz, a pleasure. It's been great having you with us, my friend. Best of luck with the Bears this year. Always good to see you, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Good luck. Stay healthy.
True hometown
Stay
hero.
healthy and watch out for those crackback blocks.
And he says he could go deep here. He says he could go deep at Zephyr Field. All right, we're going to have to give him a chance. Back in just a moment to talk Hornets, Zephyrs, and more on Sports NOLA TV. Our Sports NOLA TV trivia question of the evening. The Zephyrs are beginning their 20th season in New Orleans. And our question, where did the Zephyrs call home before moving to the Crescent City? The answer is the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. They played in Mile High Stadium with about 75,000 seats playing AAA baseball, and the ball was flying out of the ballpark with regularity, which is not the case, typically speaking, here in New Orleans at Zephyr Field. A more honest ballpark, to be certain. Ken Trahan, Sports NOLA TV, glad you've joined us. We'll talk Zephyrs extensively in the next segment with Mike Schlein, the general manager of the New Orleans Zephyrs. The New Orleans Hornets are back in action tonight to take on the Los Angeles Lakers. Always a big draw at New Orleans Arena, but the Lakers will be without Kobe Bryant. He will miss the game, and that obviously will have an impact on the game on many fronts, including in the stands. Jarrett Jack done for the year for the Hornets, who have continued to play competitively. They got ripped at San Antonio, but they are playing honest basketball. They came back and got a win, 99-90, in a game I covered this past Saturday night over Minnesota, Brian. So again, they've continued to play hard for Monty Williams.
And again, you know, I hope Monty gets a vote or two for Coach of the Year. He may not, but I'll tell you what, I think he'd get our vote.
Yes.
You know, we've seen his teams continue to battle through just injury after injury. Forget about what happened in the preseason with all the turmoil. He's just kept that team together. They've got Eric Gordon back on the court. Eric, all of a sudden, he wins one game. He comes back and scores 30 plus. You know, let's hope for good things. Look, let's not let them get too hot here, though. We want them to stay about right where they are right now.
You know, that's the trick bag. You really don't want to see them win much.
We want to be competitive, but we don't want to win because we want that opportunity to hopefully get the big guy from Kentucky there. Yes, we'd like to have an opportunity to get him.
Now let's take a look at the results of the Hornets from this past week. We alluded to some of the results, but as you look at what they were able to do this past week, they, of course, beat Denver on the 4th, 94-92, and Chris Kaman went for a double-double in that game, and that's Eric Gordon with the game-winning free throws with 2 seconds left in his return in a Hornets uniform. Then they had their worst loss of the year in terms of points at San Antonio. That's no embarrassment. San Antonio's right there at the top of the league. Beat the Hornets by 25. The ageless wonder, Tim Duncan, really good. Their bench was phenomenal, and Gordon had 31 points in this game. And then the Hornets flipped the card, came home and beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. And this was the big men coming through big. Jason Smith, a career-high 26 points, 10 rebounds, and Chris Kaman, 21 points, 10 rebounds. So the big men were getting it done. And then, of course, Eric Gordon just staying after it, and finally getting some help from Jason Smith. Gordon strained his back. He missed the rest of the first half in that game, but he did come back to play in the second half. So bottom line is, if you have Kaman, Torrance, and you have Gordon, and you get 2 #1 picks, which are going to get lottery picks, maybe you have something to build with if you can keep Gordon and Kaman.
Yes, I think they can. We can be a very competitive team. Look at what Monty Williams has done with all the injuries and with the body parts that he has right now. Now, this match he had Kamen and Gordon, and they able to add 2 number ones. I think he can win some ball games.
And Jason Smith playing well also. It is time now to inspire you with our Marvelous Minute with Marvin LeBlanc. Marvin, of course, is an outstanding motivator. He's an author. He's a brilliant guy who always entices us into being inspired on a weekly basis. We suggest you check him out, and you can check out his website at marvinleblanc.com. I hope you will check that out. And with that, marvinleblanc.com/TV is the site. It's time for our Marvelous Minute. Here's our good and great friend, Marvin LeBlanc.
Good afternoon, Kenny and Torrance and Brian. My name is Marvin LeBlanc. Today's leadership moment is called Marvelous Mentors. Now, what we've seen just this past week is some magic at the Masters, Augusta National, and it's great when an American named Bubba wins the Masters. What's even better than that is the first thing that he talked about in his own humility after the victory. It had to do with mentors. It had to do with the encouragers that he's had in his life. And so one of the things I'd like to start with is the quote from General Ferdinand Foch, the French general, who said the most powerful weapon on earth is when the human soul is on fire. And this weekend, Kenny, the human soul of Bubba Watson was on fire. And the reason why I'm bringing up mentorship right now is because you are a naive individual if you think that you can continue to be inspired in the workplace or at home without having some sort of mentorship relationship. And so in this small 30 additional seconds, I want to mention 4 things that I'd like for you to think about in your own self-evaluation and self-inventory. Number 1, who are your mentors? Number 2, list those mentors by name. Number 3, when have you last been in contact with your mentor? And number 4, be open to seeking out new mentors. Don't ever get the attitude where you have all the knowledge that you need and that you cannot benefit by seeking out an additional mentor. I actually developed in Chapter 8 of Come Hell or High Water an entire chapter just on my own marvelous mentors. Go to marvinleblanc.com/TV to pick up a free chapter and learn more about mentorship. Back to you, Kenny.
And when we return in just a moment, we'll visit with Mike Schlein, the general manager of the New Orleans Zephyrs, as we continue with more of Sports NOLA TV here at Zephyr Field in Metairie. The Shrine on Airline, Zephyr Field, a place that holds a very special place in my heart, was here on opening night calling the game back in April of 1997 when the ballpark opened. And of course, it was a marvelous time then. It's a marvelous time now. It doesn't get any better for family entertainment with the price point and good, clean, wholesome fun that you can have here at the ballpark. The Zephyrs at home against Memphis tonight and for the next 4 days before they hit the road. Open 3-1, and it's great to welcome our special guest Mike Schlein to the show. And Mike, it's great to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's always good to see you, Kenny. And it's baseball season. It's that time of the year, and we started off winning 3 out of our first 4. So we're excited about the season. And
the Zephyrs are doing it with some special guys with local interest and Jude Young profiles. 3 guys that are prominent on this year's Zephyrs team from Louisiana.
Another New Orleans Zephyrs season has arrived, and the roster at the Shrine on Airline is loaded once again with both prospects and veterans, all trying to reach the major leagues, including 3 Louisiana products.
This is awesome. You know, this is not something you want to do. It's not something you want to be in AAA. You want to be in the big leagues and stuff like that. But it's another step to the big leagues. You know, and this is our AAA team. You know, it's here in New Orleans. It's 2 hours from my house, and a lot of family will be able to come out and watch and enjoy games instead of hopping on planes or, taking long car rides to come see me. 2 hours down the road, they can come watch whenever they want.
It's exciting. It's exciting to be home. It's exciting to see my family and friends. But in the scheme of things, I'm here to play baseball, and that's the most exciting thing. To start a new season, fresh numbers, fresh stats, fresh team, fresh teammates. You know, it's just all this process, it never gets old, I'll tell you that much.
When it comes to pitching, you're only as good as your arm and the health of your arm. You've had some issues in the past. How do you feel right now heading into the season with the Zephyrs?
I feel excellent. You know, I mean, that was the past. You know, I can't look back to that, and I'm just glad to be healthy and glad to have the, you know, the stuff I have now, and, you know, just going to go out there and compete every night.
This is exciting. I've never been this close to home during professional ball, obviously. So to have a chance to have family here every homestand is going to be fun.
How was your spring? We heard you had a very good spring, and your manager even said it's a bit of a surprise that you're even with this club. So chances are you've got a real chance to jump back up to the big league team.
Well, that's what the hope is, and I think that's what all the hopes are for every guy in that clubhouse. But you know, like you said yesterday, if we play together, win, do our jobs individually, the winning is going to take care of the promotion. So,
heading into this year, what kind of ball club can the local fans expect to see on the field?
Well, I think what you're going to look at is you're going to see a lot of guys that has major league experience, and that's a big factor for us because we have guys that know what they're going to, what is expected out of them. They played in the major leagues. They know what it takes to be a ball player. So that's the good part. We're not here to develop. We're here to win. And we have that type of ball club.
Luke Montz, you also heard from Wade LeBlanc there, and Bo Jones of Destrehan, and of course Ron Hasse, and new field manager this year and a guy with extensive major league experience in Ron Hasse, Mike.
He's been outstanding to work with. Just brings a nice calm presence, really has the guys on board. Very nice person, nice to work with. You know, one of the first things he said to me when we met one-on-one in his office was, it was really important for him that anything that needs to be done in the community, go to him, bring it to him, that it's very important to the Marlins, and he wants to make sure that this clubhouse is that way as far as being cooperative. And when you're a general manager in my position, that's what you want to hear, because the last thing you want to do is go back into that clubhouse and feel like there's some kind of friction between the front office and the team, and it's not with him. It's great to work with.
Off to a great start at 3-1. Could have easily been 4-0, pitch a one-hitter and lose, but still a great weekend.
I don't know if I've ever seen that happen before, a one-hitter and lose, but yeah, it was a great weekend. We opened up with a blast Thursday night. Right when we were opening about the first pitch time, I looked up into the stands and I was a little concerned about the crowd, but by about the fifth inning, it was packed in here, so we couldn't have been happier.
Some really good people on that. We saw Boudreaux for a minute there. He remains a staple here, which is amazing. Clotil's back as well.
Well, as you know, when you talk about the NFL and the NBA and you have your Drew Breeses, or, you know, I know he's not with them anymore, but Chris Paul with the Hornets a couple years, you have a face, but our players go up and down so much, and you can't have a player as the face of the team. You know, no player is going to want to be in AAA or should be in AAA for 3 years in a row. So our face is Boudreaux, and we have to use that to our advantage. And he's probably the most recognizable mascot in the city. And you know, we put him on our billboards, we put him on our program, and he's the thing that everybody identifies with the New Orleans Zephyrs.
Torrance, he kind of reminds you of Brian L.E. Walsh, especially the orange teeth, right?
Exactly, right. You're right, perfect with that. And my kids love to come and participate at the Zephyrs game and to watch Brian run around.
Mike, let's bring it back to baseball, Mike. You know, 20 years in the city. I'll tell you what, and Kenny said it so eloquently in the lead-in, was, you know, what your franchise means to this city, and it's such good, clean, adult, family entertainment, which is so great, and we love bringing the kids out here ourselves.
Right. Well, we were talking about this on the radio the other day. You know, the first 4 years at UNO, 93 through 96, I believe it was. I mean, that's a very special time, and you were there, you were part of it, and Don and Rob Kuig and all those people that really built this thing into what it was. And I you know, even though I wasn't here, I got a lot of appreciation for that staff and what they did in opening up this ballpark. And I've been fortunate enough to be a part of it for, this is now my 11th season, and just seeing what it's become from 2002 to now, like the improvements in the ballpark. Just the different things that we've been able to do here, the good times, everything with Katrina, and it's a special story. Not to mention the backdrop of baseball and the great careers that have started here, and it's been a really fun place to be part of. But yeah, 20 years is unbelievable.
Truly remarkable. 16th year at Zephyr Field, of course, and the Zephyrs home to start the year with 8 straight. Started with 4 against Nashville, as we alluded to, and went 3-1. Memphis here in just a little bit tonight and over the next 3 days. Let's take a look at that schedule here for the month of April, because the Z's will come back for another homestand later on in the month. Round Rock and Albuquerque will be coming in. So, Mike, you like to be at home early in the season. I know the kids are still in school, but you can rest assured that the weather's better here than it is in many of the locales of the PCL this time of the year.
I'm going to be honest with you. I like the opener to be on the road. I like to get those first 8 games away. We get a little extra time to get the stadium ready. But yeah, I like our schedule to be home heavy in April and May. Unfortunately, this year we have an 11-game homestand in August, so we're not looking forward to that. But you know, if you notice our promotional schedule, we try to load everything big that we're going to do in April, May, and June. Those are the times when we can, you know, knock on wood, have no rain and get through it and get big crowds. And then come August, you know, we'll play baseball and expect some afternoon showers and do the best we can. But
Brian,
yeah.
and Brian, some of the staples here that have existed forever and have been great: Thirsty Thursdays, the concerts, of course, the fireworks on Fridays. These are things that people know they can count on when they buy a ticket, and people have bought packages of just Friday nights and weekends previously, and that's something that everyone is accustomed to when they come to Zephyr Field.
Absolutely, and I like the 11 o'clock, those early games.
11:30, yeah.
11:30 for the grade school kids. You get. I'll tell you what. There's nothing better than to get out here, sit in the stands, get a Coke and a ballpark Frank, you know, and watch baseball. I mean, it's a great way to try and raise kids into loving baseball.
Right.
And we're all baseball fans. I played it as a kid. I still coach it, and it's a great game.
Love the sport, goes without saying. Florida Marlins, you have a good affiliation. I know you're pleased. They have an exciting time with their new stadium. You got a year left on the deal, and I know right now the intent is to keep the affiliation.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't be happier with Miami. The front office has been great to work with. The major league team's got a lot of potential. So we'll see what happens when it comes time to talk affiliation, but as of now, we'd like to renew it.
And I knew I'd say Florida. I mean, listen, old habits die hard.
I know.
I mean, what do you call the Angels?
Yeah,
The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, California Angels, I don't know.
Yeah.
They are the Miami Marlins again, which is where they started,
Yeah.
and they branded it within the city, Torrance. And obviously, having a new ballpark makes a difference from the major league perspective, because it means money is spent, and that's what's helped the Zephyrs here.
Yes, you know, people like to come to nice parks. Players like to play in nice parks. And down in Miami, they built a nice park. Unfortunately, they lost their first game there. I had an opportunity to see a little bit of that game, but a very nice stadium, very colorful and all. I think they're going to do great.
Mike, I got a question for you. With the new ownership in Miami, does that money, have you felt a trickle-down effect into the AAA side of it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When you're going to go ahead and sign these big-time free agents, which they haven't done in years past, well, what's going to happen is that the guys that would be breaking out of spring training and going to Miami in years past, well, we're going to get a few of those guys because the supply and demand up there. So we have 3 or 4 guys on our starting roster that, you know, if this was a year ago, they'd be up in Miami. Brian Peterson's a perfect example of that. You know, he's starting the year with us, but he's got a lot of major league experience. He'll get another chance. He's going to get a lot of chances. But so yeah, we're going to be stronger because the Marlins are stronger.
Yeah, Peterson and LeBlanc are Exhibit A where that's concerned. And of course, the Zephyrs roster is a good roster this year, and it's been a good year thus far for the LSU Tigers, who came off of a big weekend against the Florida Gators, where LSU goes to the #1 team in the country in Gainesville, and they win 2 of 3. And LSU is now 25-7. And who do they play Tuesday night at the Box?
Alcorn State. We got 2 tough ones coming up, LSU and Tulane.
Yeah, Tigers have Southern Miss right here at Zephyr Field on Wednesday, Mike. That's important to New Orleans, and you'll have a huge crowd here Wednesday.
Oh, absolutely. LSU coming in here, and you know, they're rebounding after losing 2 out of 3 to my Appalachian State earlier.
You had to get it in, didn't you?
Hey, I'm great. I appreciate you calling that out because they've been stumping me. You know, poor Alcorn, we can't do anything. I appreciate that.
That's Mike 1, Torrance nothing. Okay. I think he just no hits you basically. Okay?
Hey,
Tulane.
I'm with you.
Tulane coming off of losing 2 out of 3 to Rice. That's normal. Rice owns Tulane, but Tulane did win a game in that series on the Green Wave. We'll have Nicholls State and then Alcorn State.
Hey, we're making money, man.
Another W for Tulane, right?
We're making money.
And then they hit the road to UAB for a 3-game series this weekend. We'll take a time out here, and we'll be back to talk more with Mike Schlein and also tell you about motocross coming up in the Louisiana Superdome when sportsNOLAtv continues from Zephyr Field in Metairie. Our first NBC Prep Baseball Showcase continues next Monday night, April 16th, 8 p.m. as the Rummel Raiders take on the Jesuit Blue Jays in a game that will be played Friday night. We'll show a tape delay next Monday at 8 p.m. The game scheduled to be shown tonight, postponed by rain between Brother Martin and Rummel, but you'll be able to see Jesuit and Rummel next Monday night at 8 p.m. from John Ryan Stadium in Metairie, a beautiful facility, just like Zephyr Field is. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv. And Supercross is coming to New Orleans, and Louisiana native Kevin Windham is returning to his roots as he'll be in the Superdome for Supercross, and you won't want to miss. This is an exciting event.
coming back to New Orleans to race the Supercross is obviously very special to me. I've had a lot of success in New Orleans, and just, you know, the fans from coast to coast for Supercross are amazing. They've done so much for my career and stuff, but to come home, it's always a good feeling to come to that hometown race and ride out on that floor. You know, the floor where I watched Saints play football, and you know, now ultimately riding dirt bikes. See the transformation of this dome, and have a good time with in front of so many friends and family. It's obviously a special deal. So far, my season's been going well. I think that, you know, we've missed out on some opportunities. Specifically in the Indy, we were in a good position to get a lot of points. Had a run-in with Michael Lessie, and there's been a few instances like that where we should have and could have scored good points. Another one in San Diego where I crashed in the whoops, and you know, if I would have minimized those mistakes, I think I'd be a lot better off. But Supercross is a sport of mistakes, you know, and minimizing that, you know, it's a tough sport. You know, we have a lot of guys that are out with injury right now, and I'm sure all of them would love to relive the situation that they were in when they got hurt. So you got to take what you can do, give it your all every weekend, and realize that there's going to be some peaks and valleys in the sport of Supercross. It just comes with the territory. Well, you know, any fan of Supercross, especially the Superdome, you know, I know going into that race, a lot of the guys are excited. You know, a lot of my competitors, they're excited to be back down in New Orleans in the Big Easy, and you know, I think that Supercross just is an action-packed sport. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. I can't tell you. Every weekend's different. I've been racing this thing for 18 years now, and it's like you always wind up seeing something new. We've had a lot of firsts this year with you know, the amount of red flags and staggered starts and all kind of weird stuff. But you know that there's going to be a lot of bar banging action. You put a lot of riders in a relatively small area, and you know, it gets exciting. And it's fun to come out and cheer for your favorite rider. And you know, unfortunately, you're going to see some wrecks along the way, but that's part of it. So it's always a good time, always a lot of fun and action-packed.
Will be a fun event, always well attended. Mike, Zephyr's off to a good start and a chance to really get off to a good start and have a very good season with the team here right now.
That's the way it looks. We have a great squad. The first 4 games, three of them went our way, so we're excited about it. I think we'll be hopefully a playoff contender this year.
Ticket information, 734-5155, zephyrsbaseball.com.
Zephyrsbaseball.com.
And it's family fun, it's great entertainment, it's future major leaguers, former major leaguers. Believe me, it's the real deal. You'll enjoy it thoroughly. Hope you'll come. Mike, thanks for letting us be here today, and thanks for being part of the show as well. And keep up the great work, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Torrance, is always a pleasure. Alcorn State will lose twice more this week.
Well, we'll pick up the money. You know, they have to pay us to come.
That's right.
They have to pay us.
And Brian, Indiana did get beat in the NCAA tournament last I checked.
Well, I'm not going to talk about Indiana. I want to talk about Alcorn State. They lost. I won the bet against Tulane. I'll give you another run.
Okay,
I'll give you one more run, Mike. I gave him 5 runs against Tulane. They lose 10-3.
We're even?
Mike, you're in the hot chair. These guys are always fighting.
This is the hot seat.
I'm going to call it a night. Thank you for joining us. Thanks to Mike Hickey, Brian Ellie Walsh, and Torrance Small. I'm Ken Trahan for Sports NOLA TV. Rounding 30 and heading home. God bless you one and all. So long.